Coming up on Tech News today, Apple may offer TV ad skipping service. AT&T gets into the easy upgrade business. And is Apple buying the makers of the Kinect? All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Tuesday, July 16th, 2013. Tech News Today is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create a professional website, blog, portfolio, or online store. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, go to squarespace.com and use offer code TNT7. And by ShareFile. Enhance your workflow, send files of almost any size easily and securely with ShareFile by Citrix. Try ShareFile today. For a 30-day free trial, go to sharefile.com, click the radio microphone, and enter TNT. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Maya Zakhtar.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And we're back together again.
Yay.
Yay.
My voice isn't entirely, but almost there. Welcome to Tech News Today, the show that tries to bring together all the most important stories in the tech world and put them in context for you, starting with the top 10 stories of the day in the News Fuse. Engadget passes along that Calculus reports Apple is in early talks to buy PrimeSense. If you recognize that name, it's because they're the company that made the original hardware and chip used in the first-generation Microsoft Kinect. They also make the tech in some lesser-known 3D sensing products like Asus Wavy Action and iPlay by iClick. A source from PrimeSense poured cold water on the idea, telling TechCrunch it was a delusion based on unverified and twisted hints. The source also scoffed at the $280 million valuation mentioned by Calculus, saying PrimeSense is worth 10 times that.
AT&T will start offering its flexible Next plans for smartphones and tablets on a postpaid basis starting July 26th. So customers can trade in their smart devices every 12 months, provided that the customer pays a monthly installment fee based on a 20-month cycle. Are you following me? For example, you would take the full retail price of an iPad, divide it by 20, and then add that cost to your monthly AT&T plan. After 12 months, you can trade in that iPad for a new device, and your cycle starts over.
Apparently, Apple is still working on some kind of TV service. According to former Wall Street Journal reporter Jessica Lesson, Apple approached networks and cable companies with the service that would allow premium subscribers to skip ads. Customers would pay Apple for the service, and Apple would pay the networks and cable companies for the lost revenue. Will it work? Stay tuned, gumshoes.
You, Justin Robert Young. Apple announced the launch of Logic Pro X, or Logic Pro 10, depending on how you want to say it, the latest version of the Pro audio software that competes with the likes of Pro Tools. The extensive revamp brings a new virtual drummer, integrated pitch editing, as well as free iPad companion app. Logic Pro X sells for $199.99 in the Mac App Store, and the companion live performance app MainStage 3 is also out for $29.99.
A secret court has ruled that Yahoo will be allowed to prove that it fought against the National Security Agency's internet spying program known as PRISM and conduct a declassification review. Yahoo, Google, and other internet companies have been fighting against the federal government's gag order that prevents them from disclosing more details about this program. As information leaks out, it's been revealed Yahoo already lost a fight to prohibit the government from monitoring its users.
Guess where GoWalla co-founder Josh Williams won't be checking in anytime soon? Facebook. Now, Williams joined Facebook back in 2012 when GoWalla was swallowed whole by Zuckerberg and company. Williams hasn't posted any information as to why he left and what he's going to do next, but All Things D's sources say he's going to start working on a new company in San Francisco.
Hey, you guys want to split a cab?
Sure.
Uber just made it a lot easier. Tap the arrow by the driver's name in the latest version of the Uber app, and you'll see a split fare button. You can then add your ride mates from your contacts list, and they'll get a text prompting them to launch their Uber app and agree. All the fares are split equally. You can't weight it or anything, but it's pretty nice.
If you're looking for a phone running Firefox OS and the Alcatel One Touch Fire or ZTE don't wow you, maybe you'll like Spanish company Geeks Phone's Peak Plus or the lower-end Keon. Both are for developers who want to contribute to the Firefox OS project or make sure that their web apps work on the browser-based OS. But Geeks Phone says it will sell a new and improved version of the Peak for consumers as well.
The LG Optimus G Pro is coming to 40 more countries soon across Europe, Russia, the Middle East, and Latin America. The phone has a user-replaceable battery and a very pretty 1080p 5.5-inch IPS LCD display, along with dual-camera video recording. Sharif Sark at Engadget reports no update on UK availability. Sorry, Brits.
Chinese Android handset maker Xiaomi sold 7.03 million handsets in the first half of this year, racking up $2.16 billion in revenue. In 2012, the company made under $1 billion for the entire year. If you're unfamiliar with Xiaomi, like I was this morning, the company was founded by Lei Jun and made headlines when it introduced the Xiaomi phone, a low-cost smartphone in 2011. Oh, and the company is rumored to be working on a smart TV. So take that, Apple. TV rumors for all.
Xiaomi is the Chinese Apple. Let's just put it out there right now. This episode of Tech News Today brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create a high-quality blog, website, store, photo gallery, all of the above in one amazing website. You got to go try this out. Squarespace keeps rolling out new product features, new integrations, new templates all the time. Plus, they got 24/7 support. Live chat during the week, extremely fast email support throughout the day and night, and plans start as low as $8 a month for software and hosting. That is amazing when you compare it to doing like your own web hosting server. Squarespace has an award-winning design team who regularly adds smart new features and amazing design templates. It's fast and easy to use. Everything's drag and drop. I use it all the time to update Sword and Laser. Just put in our video, put in our text, boom, we're on our way. It looks great. Squarespace Commerce provides a powerful and flexible e-commerce solution integrated to work with every Squarespace template. Lets you sell physical stuff, but it lets you sell digital stuff as well. Give your website the best mobile experience, too. If somebody's on a phone, don't make them squint at some desktop level site or don't put some crippled mobile version. Get a really decent version that's meant to be seen at the screen size the person is looking at. That's what they do with their mobile responsive designs. Squarespace connects all your social media accounts too. You got to try it out. Squarespace integrates all your website's needs into one platform. Domains, design, development, commerce, hosting, and 24/7 customer support. For a free trial, go to squarespace.com. Sign up for a free account. You don't need to give them a credit card or nothing. Just try it out. Start building your website. Then, if you decide to purchase it, use offer code TNT7 and get 10% off your first purchase on new accounts. That includes monthly and annual plans. And don't forget about free domain registrations for annual plan customer subscriptions. That's squarespace.com. Use offer code TNT7. Everything you need to create an exceptional website. And we thank them for their support of Tech News Today. Joining us now to discuss the stories of the day, very happy to have Larry Dignan, editor-in-chief of ZDNet and Smart Planet, back on the show. Good to have you, Larry.
Good to be here.
Let's get right into talking about those motion control rumors, not just the PrimeSense one. There's one about Intel as well, Sarah.
Yeah, so as you mentioned in the news views, 9to5Mac says there might be an acquisition between Apple and PrimeSense. This is first reported by Calculus, and 9to5Mac says, this might have something to do with getting some IP from PrimeSense. Apple may want to own the IP and technology and keep it from others, although, as you mentioned, TechCrunch source at PrimeSense says, no, this isn't happening. And plus, we're worth a lot more than $280 million. But there are also reports in the same gesture space that Intel has acquired OMEC Interactive. In fact, the company has more or less confirmed that it did in the last week. It's a company that Intel was already invested in that makes technology for gesture-based interfaces. Now, there could be a few different reasons why this would be important for Intel. Intel might want the technology as part of an increasing move into 3D visualization, perceptual computing. This whole AI sensory technology, which is also a subject of a huge investment that Intel made into a fund, $100 million sort of AI future of tech fund back in April. Or it's sort of like an and/or thing. Intel may want this technology that it can embed into its own chips. I mean, if Intel can say, "Hey, we got some very interesting gesture-based AI that we can embed into our chips and then sell to device manufacturers," that might make Intel extremely hard to beat by its competitors. I don't know. It's kind of the new thing. We're all talking about gesture-based systems that don't actually exist yet. Larry, do you think that there's any truth to any of this stuff?
Well, the Intel thing looks like it's a done deal. I wouldn't be surprised if Apple did the gesture thing too. I think it's probably the next touch, right? I mean, Samsung has that little hover thing you do with the Galaxy or whatever. Kinect, obviously. So I think gesture probably will be the new touch. Now, the big question to me is when these things will actually get to market. And, it's probably at least a couple years away. So, it's one of those things where it sounds nice on paper, but when you look and see everybody's still fumbling around trying to figure out how to swipe a screen with Windows 8 on a desktop, I kind of wonder how that's going to play out with, anything other than the Xbox, right? Like, I think it fits for gaming pretty well. But your day-to-day computing usage, I'm not sure how it's going to fit in. I think it's going to be a nice addition, but I don't think it's going to get here tomorrow by any stretch.
That's a really good point about the day-to-day, because I notice even with the Kinect, people usually when they talk about the motion control are talking about a game, but when they talk about navigating through the menus and stuff, they use voice. It isn't quite there for being able to operate stuff. And even that Samsung stuff you mentioned, I think is a little gimmicky. I don't know that people actually end up using it all that much in their day-to-day lives. But you're right. It's the next touch. And I imagine the truth behind this Apple PrimeSense rumor is that Apple had a meeting with PrimeSense, whether it was to talk about acquiring the company or just licensing the technology or whatever. They certainly could benefit from putting some motion control into their devices, not the least of which I've seen a lot of people speculate about the Apple TV. If they came out with a more robust Apple TV, the ability to control that with motion would be a perk, would be an interesting thing.
I wonder if it's the next touch.
And I think the main thing is going to be the menus and things like that. Like when you play with Xbox Kinect, the menus are absolute pain in the ass. Now, once you start dancing or doing whatever you got to do, then everything's fine. But getting to that point, I've found it to just be painful. Maybe I'm just too old, but it's not easy.
I wonder if this is really more like the next voice control. We've seen that with Siri. We've seen that with Google products. We have this ability to speak to our phones and devices. We don't do it day to day, but it is kind of cool to have. So I might think it's another one of those checkbox things. Yeah, Samsung, you can like basically roll your eyes at a Samsung phone and it'll stop playing video at you, which is kind of a nice little feature. There's lots of little things to catch up with the other guys. Intel having this, I could see this being very useful in Ultrabooks in general if you didn't want to have the technology to do a touchscreen, because those did raise the cost a little bit, but now everything's become a touchscreen, so that's brought it down. To have differentiation on your products at this point, because it's pretty much a commodity when it comes to PCs or set-top boxes, everything can pretty much do the same thing as everything else, and if you have to have a gimmick, if Apple's going to go into this or Intel, they have to have a unique spin on it, so that way you're like, oh yes, I will use this day to day, or it'll just be like that occasional usage thing like Siri.
Intel may also be thinking about security. I mean, they have McAfee. They've been talking about building more security into their chips for a while. I mean, what if a gesture is what opened your computer?
Which particular gesture? A salute?
I could walk in, do a Karate Kid, and my screen will come on. I mean,
Crane Kid.
I'm sure that's what everyone was thinking was Karate Kid gesture for Windows 8.
What about just clapping? Maybe you clap a couple times and your tech
finally
comes
make
on.
the clapper work. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, it could be great.
It's going to be good. Let's talk about AT&T's new Next plan. That's the one that gives you an easier way to upgrade your phones. Everybody's doing this now. T-Mobile was the first. Apple's the next. There's even a rumor that Verizon might come out with a similar thing called VZ Edge. The leaked slides, according to AndroidCommunity.com, indicate Verizon might have their own program August 25th, where you would upgrade after 50% of the current devices paid for. That's similar to what's going on with AT&T and T-Mobile. So what I did to kick off this discussion is I compared the Samsung Galaxy S4 across AT&T and T-Mobile. How much this is going to cost you up front, how much it's going to cost you monthly. Because T-Mobile's out there saying, hey, we're still cheaper. AT&T is making you pay a subsidy price in their monthly plan and making you pay for the device. That's not cool. So here's the way it goes. AT&T mobile share is the best way to compare these because T-Mobile does unlimited talk and text. AT&T Mobile Share does unlimited talk and text. AT&T and T-Mobile don't offer the same tiers. So with AT&T, it's either 1 gigabyte or a lot more gigabytes. T-Mobile, it's either 2 gigabytes or their so-called unlimited, which does a little bit of throttling. So I compared the 1 gigabyte AT&T plan to the 2 gigabyte T-Mobile plan. And I have a caveat for that. With AT&T, you have to pay the sales tax on your phone up front. That's the only upfront cost. Then for the Samsung Galaxy S4, my example, $32 a month for the phone, $85 a month for the service. That ends up being $117 a month. But T-Mobile's plan, their jump plan, also provides protection insurance. That's an extra $10 at AT&T. So that would drive you up to $127. And if you want to pay for an extra gigabyte to actually match up 2 gigabytes, that's an extra $15. So that brings you up to $142 a month on AT&T. For the T-Mobile individual jump plan, it's $159 up front for the Samsung Galaxy S4. That's $149 for the phone and then $10 for their SIM kit. Then it's $20 a month for the phone, $10 a month for the jump upgrade plan, and $60 a month for the service. So that's $90 a month versus, depending on how you look at it, $117 up to $142 a month, apples to apples. Larry, I don't know. It looks pretty clear to me which is the better value here, but then you also got to consider coverage and stuff like that. AT&T's got a bigger LTE network. Which seems like the better deal to you?
I think these plans are interesting, but they sort of feel like they're for those people that rent their furniture. Like if you go to Rent-A-Center or something, I'm just skeptical about the whole thing. It's too damn complicated. I think at the end of the day, it's about the carriers trying to make money somehow, right? You're paying Apple all these subsidies and, to subsidize the device with contracts and all that. And I think what we're seeing is carriers are going to become basically finance. They're going to become banks basically, right? Where they're going to make good money off of financing your device. And
I like
I'm
the
not
comparison actually. That's
yeah. It feels maybe I'm too damn cynical, but it feels weird, right? And for me, comparing AT&T and T-Mobile, it's all about the network, and T-Mobile's not up to snuff compared to AT&T, which frankly may not be up to snuff compared to Verizon. So for me, my train test is the Northeast Corridor rail line, and if I get a 4G signal or not. And if T-Mobile can't do that, which I don't think they can, neither can Sprint, it's kind of a non-starter for me anyway. But I think the plans are interesting. I think you almost need a couple more to do it, and then you sort of compare them all. But I think T-Mobile is probably a better deal because they are doing the value pricing thing. So I think that's kind of in line with their shtick. Sprint's going to have a similar shtick, and that's because they're all trying to catch AT&T and Verizon, right? So AT&T and Verizon will probably never, ever, unless they lose a ton of market share, be the lowest priced option anyway, because they don't have to.
It's really hard to love some of this stuff, isn't it? I mean, here, I feel like, for the last couple of years, I'm part of a big group of people who, complain about being locked into some sort of a contract. I can't upgrade yet. Oh, no, this sucks. The carriers really make it hard on us. But then you see situations like this and you kind of look at the numbers and you go, well, but now you have to pay more money per month. And do I really want this? And it's kind of hard to love any option. Like Larry says, I mean, this is just sort of a way to get money. It's just being packaged as a different product. But I mean, kind of like leasing a car or that whole sort of rent-to-own furniture thing. It's like you pay a little bit more to have the flexibility to be locked in for a shorter amount of time. That won't appeal to everybody, but it'll definitely appeal to some people. And I guess more options are better.
I feel like this is more honest than the old subsidized model, right? Because instead of an early termination fee, you know exactly what you're paying for.
I think the other thing here is that, what was I going to say? Oh, I think the other thing that I don't think this is going to be a big audience thing. I think this would have been really nice to have 2 years ago when, the devices were changing so much that you felt like you had to upgrade every year. But now you get it's all about the software, right? The actual hardware. It's like, I don't know, who cares, right?
Yeah, it's almost like they're artificially trying to force you to upgrade by putting these plans out there because they know that the natural upgrade cycle isn't as big.
Yeah, I mean, we're not running like if, the next iPhone comes out, I mean, there'll be a small audience that runs out and, throws their iPhone 5 off a bridge and runs and gets it, but that's becoming few and far between. Most of us are kind of happy with the device.
That's a
At
good
least on the
point,
hardware
too.
front. Unless they start forcing upgrades, I don't know.
Don't
The
throw
audience,
don't throw that iPhone off a bridge because you need to trade it in if you want to upgrade. That's the
Right.
other part of this. They're getting into the reselling game by taking all these
Yeah.
old phones that they're getting back.
So I think the audience for this is getting, the people that, I must upgrade in a year. I think that audience is getting smaller and smaller by the day.
All right, let's. We mentioned Apple TV briefly when we were talking about PrimeSense earlier, but Ayaz, there's a rumor from Jessica Lesson that Apple TV might have an interesting feature.
Right. So Jessica Lesson, who used to work at the Wall Street Journal, no longer does that. But she's reporting that Apple's next TV service would include ad skipping technology. And we know that last time anybody tried to do ad skipping, like with Dish, all heck broke loose, and that wasn't exactly the greatest idea. But Lesson says that Apple's talking with the networks and cable companies for over a year, but now the talks have gotten much more serious. Now, a premium version of Apple's TV service would let a user pay Apple, and then they'd be able to skip ads. So you still get ads, and you'd be able to skip them, though. Apple would then pay the content companies the money there for the lost revenue that would occur. And this sounds a lot like iTunes Radio. So if you pay for iTunes Match, you lose the ads for the premium service, and Apple pays the record companies for that. Larry, does this seem like a setup that's going to actually make the content companies happy? Is anything really going to get TV on Apple TV?
I think the model is very interesting. I think what you'd have to, I guess there's two things. One, you'd have to get the big broadcast. And by the way, I work for CBS, but I think you'd have to guarantee them some kind of revenue, right? And some kind of CPM to say, all right, we can account for the people that are going to flip through the ads anyway. And then maybe the content companies make their gravy on the people that will watch the ads, even though they're paying for the skipping technology. So I think it's an interesting model because it's sort of, I think if Apple managed to pull this off, I could see a lot of companies doing that. I mean, maybe even cable companies do it, right? You pay an extra fee to skip over ads. And, it seems like a win-win because everybody gets paid.
It's very...
I think you can definitely look at this, and one thing to keep in mind is that the carriage agreements between broadcasters and cable companies involve much more than just the cost. They involve all kinds of promotional arrangements and this and that. And that's what Apple is trying to get around. They're saying, look, we just want to pay you to carry it with commercials, and then we're going to do an ad skipping thing, and we'll give you more money. And these broadcasters are like, well, but we're used to having a much more complex deal. And I think that's what's holding this up.
I think there's an oddity, though. That's the way the business has been for the longest time, these upfronts, trying to get advertisers on board. And then if there's this other revenue stream coming from Apple and this new kind of model, it seems like this, we always say Apple wants to disrupt things. This would disrupt a pretty, this particular system is pretty old, okay? So the idea that Apple could come in and try to change that from the get-go, that seems pretty impressive if they could pull it off. The rumors of Intel's internet service or internet television service required Intel paying a ton of money, more money than cable companies pay for the content. I just don't know if an ad split or a revenue split's going to make these companies happy, because that old guard, they like the way things work. If they were going to shift it over to Apple, I'm afraid they're going to think, oh, we're giving up power. We're not going to give Apple that kind of power.
I don't know if it's an ad split as much as a carriage fee for Apple, so to speak. Right. I mean, because I think the TV market's ripe for some kind of economic disruption. And the reason I say that is because, okay, I'm moving Verizon Fios to another house. They have a package that cuts out all the sports. Right. So I could get the cable channels much more cheap if I don't get ESPN, which to me is insane. But there's probably an audience for that goes, look, I'm not paying an extra $5 a month just to have ESPN or the NFL network or whatever. I mean, there are a lot of folks that aren't going to watch these high-priced sports deals. So I think as they start experimenting with this stuff, that Apple model does not sound economically crazy to me. Because with ad skipping technology, you're going to lose on the ad revenue anyway. Right. So it's a case of getting something when you probably would have got nothing. So I think, and I think the broadcasters are probably going to look at this as another another carriage fee or sort of a, subscription light type model, right? Like, I don't know what ABC gets paid or Disney gets paid for, like, Disney XD and all those cable channels, but they get a carriage fee of some sort. So, I think this model, if it's real, I think would be a decent hybrid way to sort of alter things a bit.
The other thing is, for the end consumer, I think it might be okay to have a cable package that came through the Apple TV that didn't include sports, because they have MLB.TV, they have NHL. If they could somehow get the NFL on Apple TV, that would be a bigger deal too. It's that cable package doesn't need to be as inclusive as a regular cable package, because you have these separate apps, separate deals, and separate subscriptions. It could pave the way for something different. I just don't know if the industry's ready for it.
Yeah, I think ultimately, because I think if you took away that all-inclusive thing, some things would just fall by the wayside. Like for me, I'd get the NFL, and everything else can run on the Who Gives a Shit channel. I just don't care.
Well, and
but the NFL
DirecTV and Time Warner. Wait, I think it's Time Warner. DirecTV and one of the Houston area companies are not carrying CSN Houston for that very reason, because they don't have the NFL, and they say nobody watches the basketball or baseball.
And I think there's something to that.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break and thank our other sponsor for today's show, ShareFile by Citrix. In business, you rely on sending and receiving important materials. That's how business is done. But you're placing a lot of risk in sending large files. Are they going to get there? Are they going to be able to open it? Is it going to get corrupted? And if they're confidential, it's even worse. Like, can I trust where I put it? Can I throw it in this online box, or is that a bad idea? That's why we use ShareFile by Citrix for stuff like that. It's the better way to send and receive files of almost any size. With ShareFile, you can easily and securely send everything from large documents to PowerPoint presentations, and the files are sent as a link, so you don't get bounce backs. You can track when somebody got it, so you know they got that important information, and set access control, so you know that only the people that should see it saw it. Plus, ShareFile allows you to store your files in the cloud, so you can access them from anywhere. It's a nice side benefit. You can, on your laptop, your mobile device, work on the go. I use it for things like taxes, for things like contracts, when I'm like, I need to make sure that, A, the person got it, and only that person got it, and it's secure. I want you to try ShareFile with my special offer. Sign up today, receive a 30-day free trial, no obligation. Go to sharefile.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and enter TNT. Remember, visit sharefile.com, type in TNT. And we thank ShareFile for their support of Tech News Today. All right, let's get around to that FISA court decision that Yahoo got. Back April 25th, 2008, Yahoo lawyers fought an inclusion in the PRISM plan before the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. The New York Times reported back in June that Yahoo had petitioned at that time to review the government's order over concerns that it violated users' Fourth Amendment rights. The court called those concerns overblown, but Yahoo was not named in the publication of that decision, and they weren't allowed to say it was them. So they appealed to that to Judge Reggie Walton, and at the FISC yesterday, the judge ruled that he would unseal documents related to the case, allowing Yahoo to show that they objected, given the new leaks from Snowden. The U.S. government must now conduct a declassification review of the opinions in legal briefs. That means they'll look over them, make sure there's nothing that really needs to be classified, details, names, things like that. And then once that has been done, the court will publish the opinion in a form that redacts any properly classified information. So the court will look at that and make sure that the government just didn't go and black out everything. The government must report to the court by July 29th with estimated dates of completion. So July 29th isn't when they have to have it done. July 29th is when they have to tell the court the schedule of when they'll get it done. And this could affect other companies who've sought permission to document the scope of participation. Now, really all this does immediately is say, okay, it was Yahoo. We kind of knew that from the previous reports, and it allows us to see the document eventually. I'm not sure how much more that will tell us. Larry, this has been dragging on for a while, and it's got no end in sight. But it seems like an important step along the road for companies.
Yeah, I think it's, well, one, I think it's great for Yahoo, right? I mean, they were doing this battle before it was, out in the open and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, EFF gave him a gold star for this, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, they deserve props for that for sure. And I think it's great that it'll be, unsealed to some degree. For me, it's all going to be about what that filing looks like and all the black marks. Right. I mean, but this whole thing, it might be completely redacted with like 10 words left in. Right. So I mean, I think from a PR perspective, Yahoo got the most it could possibly get out of this. But I do think it's important because maybe other companies like Microsoft or Google or whoever will see the props that Yahoo got and won't cave as easily. Not that I don't know if they caved or not or whatever, but I think it's an interesting step that you can, there's a good business reason to fight back, right? Whether it's user data or PR value or whatever. It's it's just kind of props to Yahoo basically. But I don't think we're going to find out a whole lot.
Yeah, I don't think we'll find out much more either. I think it is a good precedent for Google, Microsoft, and others to be able to say, okay, well, now maybe we can get this. And Google's really been pushing for the scope to talk about numbers, talk about request numbers. So this might give them a little more ammunition to go in and push their case as well. But yeah, I agree with you. Big stepping stone along the way. Also, Yahoo opening up usernames, Sarah Lane.
This is exciting. If you've always wanted, Thomas Merritt at Yahoo and always felt slighted that someone else got it before you, you can now petition to be part of a wish list. So obviously a little context, Yahoo had sent messages to dormant accounts. So basically, if you, for whatever reason, seemed like you hadn't logged into your Yahoo account in 12 months or more, Yahoo sent you a note to confirm your inactiveness. If you're a non-responder, then your username gets thrown into a pool of available handles. Now, of course, there was some outcry about this being a security issue. Yahoo says we've put together, we've got it all figured out. It shouldn't be a security issue. It's really about people who aren't using these accounts, especially if you use that account to sign into a social network. We have ways to be able to read headers, basically to make sure that you're not just going to get locked out of stuff because your Yahoo email has gone away. So if you go to wishlist.yahoo.com, Yahoo says you can sign up to 5 accounts. So for me, it'd be like Sarah Lane at Yahoo, Sarah Lane 76, or usernames that for whatever reason I might not have that I always wanted back in the day. And if you are the first one to claim an available username, you can claim it within 48 hours if Yahoo sends you a link saying, yay, congratulations, you now have Sarah Lane at yahoo.com, which I actually did sign up for because for whatever reason, I never had that back in the day when Yahoo Mail was cool. I guess I just want to ask you guys, did anybody sign up for Yahoo names on the wish list? Or is this sort of like a lot of crickets?
Crickets.
I think it's mostly crickets. I did sign up for Larry.Dignan just because I know there's a realtor in Arizona that, has my identity. So, but yeah, other than that, it's crickets mostly.
I was excited to sign up for it. I'll be that guy. I actually did sign up for a couple of them because I have my old spam account that has iActar 79. So I had to get that a long time ago because apparently there's a lot of iActars, which surprised the heck out of me. So I'm finally trying to get Ayaz Akhtar and Ayaz at Yahoo. And so it's an interesting move from Yahoo that you could have a really great username as your email address, as opposed to having some ridiculous name you came up with when email started. Friends of mine in college used to have Sam loves Janet forever at bu.edu. Really bad idea, right? So you're stuck with that for life. It seems like, or they moved on to another thing. So a lot of people can redo that.
Tattoo.
What's that?
I said it's still better than a tattoo.
It's better than a tattoo, but it was really bad for education. But Yahoo, yeah. I'm excited about this little move. I might actually even use Yahoo Mail because of this, because if it has a better name that I can use, I'd rather use that.
Really?
You guys
I feel like email addresses are almost becoming sort of like phone numbers where it's like, I don't know, something's in your phone. You just type in your contact's name and you're not paying that much attention to their email address. If Ayaz was like, Ayaz Ak 347, the first 12 numbers of pi, I'd be like, whatever. If it's in my contacts, I'll never think about it again. I just don't know how important this stuff is anymore.
Well, maybe your name's not misspelled easily, Sarah Lane.
I guess that's a touche moment.
There's
right
an
there,
H
yes.
at the end, though. Don't forget the H.
There's always an H.
Yeah, no, that's why it frustrates me. I have some friends that keep changing their email address, and I'm like, now I have like 15. I have to remember to go back and delete the old ones so they don't autofill. Speaking of Yahoo, we were speaking a lot of Yahoo today. Marissa Mayer celebrates her 1-year anniversary as CEO, Ayaz.
Yeah, the Yahoo hat trick. So it's 1 year ago today, Marissa Mayer took over the reins of Yahoo. And depending where you're getting your news today, either she's done a great job, she's done a turnaround, or she's still trying to catch up, or something. But here are the facts in the 1 year. Yahoo has picked up 17 startups, including Astrid, Quickie, Sumly, and Tumblr. That deal was about $1 billion. Companies axed a whole bunch of services that nobody used, like Yahoo, I think Yahoo Live, and a bunch of things sitting around. They redesigned and relaunched Flickr with a terabyte of space for each user. They've done the understated redesigns of Yahoo Mail and Yahoo, the home pages. All these things have been shifted a bit. Yahoo shares are up 70% since Mayer took over. Now, a lot of reports were very quick to say the reason why their stock price is up is because that gain is attributable to investments in the Chinese e-commerce company Alibaba and Yahoo Japan. But Yahoo's revenue is up a staggering 2% on the year. Glassdoor says that Mayer has an 85% approval rating as CEO as of July 10th, and that year-to-date, 12% of the company's hires were people who left Yahoo and came back. Larry, it's been a year. What do you think of Mayer's first year at Yahoo?
I think the first year was decidedly okay. But I don't think you can really rate her until you get to like year 3 or 4 or whatever. I mean, I think Carol Bartz looked pretty decent after 1 year, and that turned out to be a train wreck. Terry Semel probably looked pretty good after a year too. So I think that's I kind of look at it as a 3-year thing, especially with CEOs, right? Like Tim Cook. I think Tim Cook just rocked at Apple that first year, and year 2, Year 3, we'll see if they come up with something new, right? Or 4 or 5. So I think it's a 3-year thing for me. So I mean, I couldn't give her a thumbs up. I certainly wouldn't give her a thumbs down. It's sort of a work in progress, right? I'd give it an incomplete. And and the acquisitions, I don't know. Was Tumblr the next GeoCities, if you remember that from back in the day, or Broadcast.com? We just don't know. And I don't think we can. I just don't think we'll have a clear handle on how this thing looks until you're year 3 probably, right? And you need some organic revenue growth of some sort. You got to change the demographics of Yahoo, and a lot of that Wall Street gain was Alibaba and that kind of stuff. But a lot of it's faith in her too. So I think it's a good but incomplete picture at this point.
I'd say she did incredibly okay in the first year. I mean, yeah, this is a huge battleship of a company, don't forget. And it's been going in the wrong direction, everyone agrees. So a lot of people criticize, like, oh, she hasn't done much yet, except acquire some companies, and we haven't seen any of the results for that. Of course we haven't. And I totally agree with you, Larry. It's going to be at least year 3 before we really know what effect she's had on this company, because it takes a while for the decisions that she actually is affecting to have their repercussions. I mean, she's still, even a year in, she's still dealing with the repercussions of the decisions made prior to her tenure here. So, let's not forget that it's not instant. Like she comes in, sits down, and suddenly the company changes. You've got to change the culture, which she's been doing with getting rid of telecommuting. You've got to change the user behavior, user perception, which she's been out there battling. I don't see that she's done anything egregiously wrong. Maybe she's overpaid for some companies, maybe she hasn't. But it's too early to say like, oh yes, she saved Yahoo. I would go so far as to say that Marissa Mayer has prevented Yahoo from further decline, as far as I can tell.
Also,
I
mean,
think
if anyone
Yahoo
is
interesting.
I'll go ahead. If anyone says it's just Yahoo acquiring a bunch of companies, I mean, that's just simply not true. Yahoo has done all sorts of, like you guys mentioned, trimming the fat in certain areas of the company, layoffs, but also just closing services that didn't make sense for what Yahoo wants the future to be, changing things as far as Yahoo Mail. We got a Yahoo Weather app. We've got some incremental changes to Flickr that are moving in the right direction. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's been a really busy year for Yahoo. And, I don't want to say Marissa Mayer has proven that this is now a successful company because with an acquisition, a huge acquisition like Tumblr, for example, I'm a Tumblr user. I'm on Tumblr every day. I've seen absolutely nothing change due to Yahoo buying Tumblr, but I expect that to be a different story this time next year. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like she's kept Yahoo in the news with a lot of really interesting acquisitions and some changes that seem like it's sort of it's a boss that people respect and pay attention to.
I think one analyst said the expectations are really low, and I think that's probably set up by what the interim CEO Ross Levinson was there for a couple of weeks, it seemed like, and then Scott Thompson. So the fact that Meyer got through a year, good for her, because Yahoo was just kind of rotating. They had like a revolving door at the CEO office, and so she's still there. I think decidedly okay. I think, Larry, you think you nailed it right now. Nothing horrible has happened, but the expectations are really low when it comes to Yahoo.
And it's going to take time. I mean, it's a lot like when you listen to Meg Whitman at HP. I mean, the first words out of her mouth is, "Okay, this is a turnaround. It's going to take some time." And Yahoo's in the same boat, right? I mean, I think it's a 3-year kind of deal as far as as far as grading her goes. But yeah, I mean, she certainly hasn't screwed up, and you could argue they've done a lot, but until you start seeing the returns on some of those decisions, the jury's kind of out for now.
Yeah, I think Kaya's maybe right. Her biggest accomplishment may be having survived the year at this point, which is saying something about Yahoo's history. Let's finish up with a randomizer, shall we? Scientists have made an advance in acoustic levitation. Acoustic levitation means that you're not using magnetism, you're not using buoyancy, you're using sound waves that create what's called a standing wave to provide upward pressure on the object. They've been able to do short levitation of single objects, very small objects before, but now they're able to do things, this may not sound big deal to you, but like have a droplet of water and a piece of sodium combine. Take a coffee granule and a little droplet of water and combine. That may not be a lot of coffee for you or me, but it is important for experiments that need to have elements combined without touching a surface. This is pretty cool. They say theoretically you could levitate humans with this. It might cause them to explode.
Oh, that's a small caveat. I like that. It's kind of like MRIs, right? It could destroy you if you have metal in you. But it's a great technology if it works. This is freaking incredible. Like, I think last week we were talking about 3D printing metal. Now we've got floating things in air with sound waves. This could revolutionize air hockey tables everywhere.
Good point.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, what the hell would you use this for? And then you just said air hockey, so we're all good.
There we go. We've got our use case. Let's see what's on the calendar.
Well, Nintendo Famicom, which was sold as the Nintendo Entertainment System in the U.S., turned 30 yesterday, and we forgot to buy it a cake.
We have to do the
happy belated birthday, Nintendo. Please still like us. We're sorry we've been so mean to you over the last year or so.
And everybody
you should
else.
really think about getting into mobile. Also, tomorrow, the 17th of July, Intel, IBM, and eBay all are announcing their earnings reports.
Excellent. Let's see what's incoming.
Incoming message.
Yikes. It's a message from Josh in San Antonio, Texas. It says, recently you spoke about Radiohead removing their music from streaming services, and Sarah stated that she loved these services, but here's the question and likely the answer. When is the last time she purchased any music? So Sarah, you cue this up. I think therein lies the problem. Music discovery is great if you never buy anything. It doesn't make the artist all that much. One might argue the same for the video industry. Places like Blockbuster paid enormously large amounts on a per-copy basis such that it paid for itself. For example, if it was around $200 per copy of a movie and a local Blockbuster picked up 20 copies, it would cost $2,000. Okay, Sarah, when was the last time you bought music?
Yeah, I mean, a long time ago. That's the whole point of why I like streaming services is why do I need to buy music if I can stream it anytime I want when I'm in the mood? It's the exact same thing, at least as far as I'm concerned, as long as the library doesn't go away. So yeah, I mean, it's I guess assuming that because it's so much easier for me to access, I will stream it more often, and then the artist ends up getting the same amount of money. But we know that that's not true. So it's a flawed model as far as artists are concerned, definitely. But yeah, no, I'm not discovering music and then buying it. Not happening.
I would ask you this, Sarah. When's the last time you discovered an artist on a streaming service and then went to one of their concerts or bought some T-shirt by them or something?
Well, I don't really go to concerts because I can never see over tall people. And
That's
I have
how
a
you're
lot of
right.
tech shirts. So I have a sort of a personal issue. But
to Josh, I would say the artists actually make more of their money in other ways than music sales as well.
Yeah.
And so the fact that the streaming service isn't delivering as much money as the music sales to the record company probably isn't as important to the artist as Sarah getting a seat up front where she would be willing to go to the concert because she could see the artist.
yeah, front row or I'm not going.
Yeah, exactly. You hear that, Radiohead? Just saying.
It's just vertical math.
All right, well, that is it for this episode of Tech News Today. Larry Dignan, thank you, man. It's always great having you on the show. Love hearing your insights on this stuff.
Good to be here. Thanks.
ZDNet.com and, of course, the Between the Lines blog. Anything else you got going on you want to tell folks about?
Well, we relaunched Tech Republic. That was good. And, yeah, that's about it.
Tech Republic's looking great. Good job with that, by the way.
Thanks.
All right, let's don't forget the subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com. It's a place for you folks to submit your story ideas, vote on the submissions of yours and others. And actually, some people were asking yesterday about links to Len Peralta's art. Now, it's not every piece that he has written, but Tom Gerke went and put a link up in the top of the subreddit. There's a little cartoon bubble up there, searching for prints drawn live on TNT by Len Peralta.
Hey, look at that.
Although Microsoft may sue us now that we wrote Bing, but you can click on that and it takes you to Peraltzi, where you can see all the stuff that he's got up for sale. So thanks for doing that, Tom. Appreciate that. You can find us on the web, twit.tv/TNT to get our show notes. You can email us, TNT@twit.tv, or give us a call. Leave us a voicemail, 260-TNT-SHOW. We will be back tomorrow with Jason Heiner as our guest. See you then.